All right, and there we go. We are now live. I want to thank everybody for being able to be here this afternoon. I really appreciate the interest in the Water Docs at School program and the opportunity to talk it through and get some answers to any questions that you might have. My name is Bob, and I'm with an organization called the Ecologos Institute. We're partners in this program with Learning for a Sustainable Future, and Joanne Hui is representing that group with us today, and she's my partner in crime on making this thing happen. And we're also delighted to be joined by Lindsay Butson, who's one of the teachers who's been taking part in the program for the last several years. So she's got a real world perspective from the classroom, and is a real fan, and so has agreed to be with us today and help flesh out any answers from her perspective. So welcome again, Lindsay. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everybody.
So I'm going to start us off by trying to figure out why my slide won't advance. There we go. So just a bit about the two organizations involved in this work. Ecologos is known mostly to the world through a documentary film festival called Water Docs, because our organization is all about water. We know that filmmaking is the storytelling of our ages, and so this has been our primary work for the last, we're coming into our 7th annual film festival. So as a part of our work, several years ago, we partnered with LSF to create this program to help get the word to our younger fellow citizens and help them get engaged in the world of water. And that's why we're here. LSF, do you want, Joanne, do you want to give us a bit of an update on LSF?
Yeah, for sure. So if you haven't heard about us, we are LSF, or Learning for a Sustainable Future, and we were founded in 1991, and our mission is to promote through education the knowledge, skills, values, perspectives, and practices essential for a sustainable future. Some of our core program strengths include working with the ministry. So what we do is we advance education policy. We also provide opportunities for networking and convening through a series of roundtables and symposia, engaging a variety of different stakeholders, which include other charities, the ministry, educators, and so forth. We also work with teachers directly by reorienting teaching and learning by promoting active and responsible citizenship. So to do so, we support best practices by providing opportunities for professional development, whether it's through institutes. We also provide funding for student action projects. And we also provide a bunch of classroom resources for both teachers and students as well.
Great, thank you. And so with that background about our respective expertise and interests in the topic of water, we're ready to talk about the actual program itself, Water Docs at School Action Projects. So it's fundamental to us that it's a free program. It's distinctly tied to the Ontario curriculum at grade 8 and the unit on water there. So we focus on grade 8 students. We also have a number of classrooms that are split grade 7-8 classes, and we'll say some more about that in a little bit. So the things you need to know about the program are that, and why we wanted to create such a program, is that we wanted something that we could give to teachers classroom ready to be able to deliver all the curriculum requirements about water in grade 8. As a part of that, it's not just educational and fact-based, but it's also intended to help kids understand why they care about water. And of course, the environment in general, but our particular focus is on water. And because of the way that the program is structured and the way it operates, and you'll hear more about this in a little bit, it helps develop other skills as well, other than just the what's the word? The fact-based knowledge about water and the issues around it. But we find that it helps develop leadership. It gets kids working as a team and understanding together. Bless you.
Thank you.
Gets them involved in project management, and introduces filmmaking skills, because as a part of it, we ask that the classroom document their work with a short film. And so that gets kids engaged in yet another way. It is entirely inquiry-based, so student-focused, project-based learning, and the video production that goes along with that. This is a quote, it's a bit lengthy, but this came from one of the teachers who participated last year. And I just thought she so successfully encapsulated all the things that we think make this a very special program. The students do learn a great deal. They learn more about themselves. If you've had any experience with inquiry-based learning, you've probably seen the ways in which kids get so actively engaged and really excited about a different way of learning, because it's not the expert at the front of the room delivering facts with lectures and talks, but it's the kids setting their own learning. And so this is very typical of the kind of reaction we get from teachers who participate in their classes as well. So the objectives for the program itself, as I say, it does fulfill the curriculum requirements, which is our particular focus. It helps students understand the idea of watersheds. What is a watershed? It's amazing how many adults haven't got a clue. And so students often don't recognize this either. And so we contextualize that and help them understand their different levels of watersheds, and their local one included, that's a part of the Great Lakes watershed. Obviously, this is, we hope, is going to have an impact on the way students and their families and their communities look at water, the way they want to engage in it, and how they can best take care of it. And of course, it's very concrete. It's not just theoretical, but it's the part of the project, part of the design of the program is that students do take up an actual action project in their community to make a difference. Gives them some real life skills as they move through this project. I mentioned project planning, coalition building, working with people outside the classroom, etc., and understanding the idea of storytelling and positive use of that in educating themselves and in the community. And you might have heard the Ministry of Education is working on a new policy document they've referred to as Community Connected Experiential Learning. And we're eagerly looking for that. We're checking earlier today. It has not yet hit their website, but we understand it's due imminently. And this program fits very well with that. It does exactly the kinds of things that policy is wanting to address. So, Joanne, would you like to talk through the various elements of the program? Sorry, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we separated the programs into 4 different elements. So the first element or section is the lesson plans portion. So LSF has created a lesson plan which consists of activities that can help you and your students identify their water inquiry topic. So these lesson plans are student-centered, and they're thorough, and they're also cross-curricular as well. So they'll tell you exactly what to do. You don't have to use all of the activities outlined in those lesson plans. It's just there for you if you need it. Also in this time frame, you also have the opportunity to watch a professionally produced water documentary and have a Q&A with our filmmakers, the Water Brothers. The next part is the action project component. And in this section, your students can engage with the community and foster networks. This is with other classes, with other community members, but it could also be other community organizations as well. So in this section, the students conceive, plan, implement, document, and evaluate a hands-on water protection project with measurable results within their community. Mm-hmm. The third component is the filmmaking section. So that's where the students tell us their story. So in this section, students are guided to create a short film documenting the process of their project implementation. Lastly, we have our celebration portion. And in this section, students attend our Water Docs at School Recognition Day. This is to be taking place in the spring. And this is where we show the prize-winning films, and we celebrate all of the films. We do also present prizes to the films that are voted Best Project and Best Film.
Mm-hmm. And we do give you the rubrics by which we make those decisions, and so you know exactly what we're working towards. Okay. So we've titled this image a suggested program schedule. In fact, some classrooms determine it doesn't take them this long to complete everything, but this is the timeline within which we do all the work. So that begins, we suggest, in early October, working in your classroom with the lesson plans and the study of principles around water, watersheds, Great Lakes, etc. Leading up to the conversation, we didn't put it on this slide, but kind of at the end of this and before jumping into the actual action project, we ask you to watch that Water Brothers film, and we schedule a live webinar with them so that the students get to ask them questions that come out of this. And it's always fun, and it's a great highlight for the kids because their questions range all over the map, as you can imagine, both about the film itself, the topic that they've learned about through that film, asking about any updates on the particular issue at hand, etc. But then they always manage to cover other territory, like asking about them personally and whether they, why they got into this business and how they go about their work. If you're not familiar with the Water Brothers, they are just completing their 4th season on TVO. And so, and unfortunately, it's going to be their last season on TVO, but they're going on to continue their work in other ways. But you can see a number of their films on the TVO website and on the Water Brothers' own website. And then we ask the class to select an action project in the local community. We all care about the plastic garbage patches in the middle of the Pacific, but we're wanting to help young folks understand that they can make a difference in their own community concretely with their own voices and actions. And so there's an element of having those conversations to decide which topic to pick up, and then proceed through the program design, the project design, and execution. So, and we encourage participation by the local community, as well as within the school, of course, the extended community. And then all the way along the action project is going on, you're doing the filming, but then as that accumulates, then you get into the editing cycle, and finally we'll establish a deadline for submitting the film for review for the competition. All leading up to the recognition day, which is great fun. We expect it's going to happen again this year downtown at the Hot Docs Ted Rogers Cinema on Bloor Street. For those that are in the accessible region around the GTHA, and if we get classes outside of the GTHA, we'll be establishing an alternative celebration for them. Any questions about this much so far? We're going to get into further detail on the way here, but just in terms of the high-level schedule, any questions? All right, we'll take that as a no. So we have learned over the years about some things that you do want to take into account as you're planning your work. And one question that often comes up, Joanne, maybe you and I can tag team on this topic, but for the teachers online, one of the questions that comes up has to do with the size of a project team. We've had many variations show up on this. Some teachers do involve the entire class in one project, and they work together, divided the responsibilities up accordingly, according to their interests and their talents. And other teachers have been known to break the class up into smaller teams so that more each individual student can have more involvement with a particular project. We've introduced some guidelines around this. We're asking now that a project team be at least on the order of 8 or 10 students. So you might have 2 or 3 teams in a particular classroom. Because part of this is involving the teamwork and understanding how to create a project together. And Lindsay, I'll ask you to chime in along the way here too, because you're the one living and breathing this in the classroom. If there's anything you want to say about your own experience in terms of team size and how the various groups work together.
Yeah, the one thing I think we learned from our first year on the project was I had a group of 15 and I had a group of 8, and the group of 15 was too big. There was a lot of idle time with some of the other students, and they had trouble self-managing, so I ended up kind of intervening a lot. So I'd say 8 is ideal. Over 12 is probably too many, depending on your class size and depending on the dynamics of your classroom. But I think from all the years we've been doing this, we're going into our 4th year, the larger groups tend to lose focus a little bit.
That's a great observation. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Joanne, was there something you wanted to add in here?
Nope.
Okay. I had a quick question, if I could, Bob, more for Lindsay, maybe.
For sure.
Lindsay, how have you dealt with students that might be not only integrated in your classroom for part of the day?
Yeah, so that actually happened to us the last 3 years. We've had this kind of problem. So we have like homeschool kids, so they're in the spec ed room for half the day.
Right.
And one good thing is when they are in science, they're always integrated for science. But I would team up with the homeschool teacher and speak to her. So they definitely didn't have as much in-class time as some of the other kids, but they would we would give them a role where they could be involved. So they might be the social media person. So whatever the action is, they might be in charge of the social media account. So then when they aren't in the room necessarily for instruction, they could still be working on their section of the project with the homeschool teacher. And then on a few occasions, we actually had the kids come up, and if they were filming or script writing or whatever they were doing, have the homeschool teacher actually come up and work with us.
Okay,
so,
that makes sense. That's great.
Yeah.
Great. Great real world adaptation, an example for how to approach that. A thought that occurs to me is that sometimes I forget to say is that you as the teacher are the expert in terms of your own learners, right? And so you get a chance to see how they work together, what their particular needs might be in terms of being able to work on a project, etc. So we leave lots of flexibility and adaptability as you see fit for that. Joanne's already mentioned the fact that we provide a very complete set of lesson plans, so that and there are teachers who work that faithfully from front to back, and that does deliver all the materials in the curriculum. However, there also are teachers who've been doing this for years and have their favorite resources and materials or ways that they like to approach things, and so we say, we're very agnostic on that. Whatever works for you in your classroom. Because you're the one making sure that you are going to cover all the topics that are required in the classroom. Another a topic that comes up, not unrelated to your question, Patrick, has to do with Rotary schedules. And it's a very similar answer to what Lindsay mentioned, but please chime in too, Lindsay, in terms of working with those other teachers to pull together a timeline and plans that work for everybody involved. So the Rotary situation complicates things a little bit, but it can work out. Is there anything, Lindsay, you would add to that?
Just like to make sure that you're being really transparent with your teaching partners, but also your administration. So if they know that you're involved in the project and you might be, using music class to write a theme song or out in the field filming or whatever that might be, it just makes for like less complications in terms of timetabling, as long as like the whole school knows what you're up to.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. So that's all that we have made a note of in terms of implementation considerations. But we're always looking for feedback and we can add to conversations in future years. So how does this come about? We provide a certain collection of resources that hopefully will support everything you need to be doing in the classroom. The image on the left, the teacher guide, is that's how we deliver the lesson plans. So there's generic action project planning guidelines and information for you as the teacher, and then a whole collection of activities that you can work into your classroom work throughout the month or 6 weeks that you do that. We also have a document that to date we've maintained it separately. It may get merged into the teacher guide that I've generally referred to as the program guide. And so that's the place where we identify all the considerations and the timelines and the requests that we have for participation in the program. Program parameters, the length of the film, we've included in there some online resources for filmmaking and editing, etc. So, and that tends to grow each year as we identify more things that we can provide you to be of help. The other two documents you're seeing there on the right are documents that have been delivered in the past by LSF with respect to various programs. The Engaging Students in Sustainable Action Projects has a whole thorough discussion about what makes a good action project and how to help the students identify a good one. And there's another set of documentation about those same topics in Protecting Our Sacred Water, which is a really fascinating and very thorough and well done document that was created through a partnership between LSF and the Jane Goodall Institute. And so we provide both of those for your review and for your use in helping guide the students through those steps of identifying a good action project. And I think that is it. Oh no, it's not either. I'm missing my list here. So we also provide a letter of acknowledgement that spells out things that could potentially become, certainly are things that you want to know about. So you know what you're getting yourself into as you start the year and things to watch out for. We also provide a media release form. I think my understanding is that every school collects media release forms just as a matter of routine at the beginning of the year. And so the release form that we provide is specific to this program, the Water Ducts at School Action Projects. And so usually what is able to happen is the principal can simply say, yes, we've documented the fact, we've got the release forms from all the students, or not. We've got some exceptions that we need to watch out for in terms of videos, etc. And so often it's just a matter of the principal signing that release form back to us. But if it's necessary to have individual parents sign a specific form for this program, we have a version of that as well.
Could I just ask a question at this point?
Absolutely.
I'm thinking of some classes I've had and that I've visited where, say, two students, their parents are really concerned about them being seen any place, so they will not sign a document. is this something that those students could still participate in, but not be in front of the camera per se?
Yes, absolutely. And we have had that happen a couple of times over the years we've been doing this. Um, so as you've heard, there are a number of different roles that get involved in all the work related, and it's up to you and the students who are doing the filming to make sure not to include them in what they capture, and then we ask you to let us know at the Student Recognition Day, because we do film that, because it's a very exciting opportunity for the kids, and so it's good for us. It becomes part of our tool to promote the work. And so we just ask that you let us know ahead of time so we can make arrangements to make sure that our videographer is not going to capture those students in that film.
Great, thank you.
Yep, well, thanks for asking. And the other thing I will note here is it's important for us to continue to remind ourselves and everyone that this program is entirely free to participate in. But as you will know, if you've done some project work in the past, sometimes there can be some relatively minor, hopefully, expenses in acquiring materials for the work, depending on the nature of your project. And so we do make available the possibility of some financial assistance. And so teachers can apply for up to $400 of financial assistance in the program. And once all of that is decided, once the topic is decided and you've had a chance to figure out what you need to run the project, and then you can apply for us. We can't guarantee that we can satisfy all of everybody's request, but we do what we can to help in that arena. And this year we are applying a special lens. We're trying to put a particular focus on schools in what the City of Toronto used to call priority neighborhoods. The term that they've evolved to is neighborhood improvement areas. And so often the nature of the need there is financial for the school. And so we will be, if we get too many requests, we will apply priority to schools in those neighborhoods. Of course, at this point, we don't know how many schools are going to be applying for, or are going to be participating in those neighborhoods, et cetera. But we just want to make sure you know that there is the option to apply for some financial assistance in these projects. Our experience has been that there's generally not a lot of expense is required for the projects that classes tend to take up. Is there anything else that I should comment on here, or Joanne or Lindsay, that you think would be helpful?
Yeah, in terms of the action project funding, our deadline for applications is on November 17th. If you'd like more details, feel free to email myself. I'll be able to help assist with any questions that you might have. And we'll also post this up on our website as well. The second part is, I'm not sure if this got missed, but we are going to be providing a how-to media guide. So basically a little guide showing how you can engage social media and tell everybody about your projects through Twitter, through Facebook, or Instagram.
Thank you. Yes, I kind of alluded to some video resources, but certainly not the social media. We have, it's been really intriguing to find that, and it should be no surprise, I guess, that kids are quick to pick up on social media, because part of the guideline for an action project is to be able to show that you've made a difference, or how much or what kind of difference you've made in the course of the project. And so we've had a number of projects set up their own websites, have their own Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts. And so that gives them some numbers and visibility in terms of being able to show what kind of reach they've had.
Mm-hmm. And we just got a question from Nicole, who was asking if we would receive these documents by email or hard copies. So we are going to be sharing all of these resources electronically.
Right. Thank you. Yep. Yeah, that's how we do that. Thanks, Nicole. So the registration is open. We've already got, I think it's 10 classrooms registered, and we're ramping up for more. But this link is active, and if you've received our flyer, that link is also on the flyer. This is a separate registration. So you already registered for it today to sign up for the webinar, but it's a separate process to sign up for to take part in the program itself. So we ask you to do that by September 30th, and we'll make sure you get all the materials that you need.
What's the difference between this registration, the one Joanne was just talking about?
So the one that we're seeing on the screen, and I think it's the same one that Joanne was talking about, is to register to participate in Water Ducks at School action projects throughout the coming months.
Okay, and then there was a November or December 17th date?
Oh, the November 17th, sorry, is a deadline for applying for financial assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, that wasn't clear before.
No problem.
Thanks for
That's
asking.
a great question. Yeah.
And our contact information. Please do follow us if you're on social media yourself. And feel free to check out our websites respectively. If you go look at the Water Docs website, that is for the entire organization, so has stuff about the festival, film festival, etc. But you'll notice in the menu there is a menu item for at school, and talks about the information you're hearing here, but you might want to review it again. And next time we update this presentation, we should also add, we do have a, Water Docs has our own YouTube channel, and there are several playlists out there where we've posted winning films from prior years, and so you get a chance to take a look at those. There's a highlights of the recognition day, so you get a sense of what that's like, and so we'll add that. But if you search for Water Docs on YouTube, you'll find that page. And let's see. I guess the next piece is if there's any further questions. We've kind of presented the material we knew we wanted to give to you, but oftentimes this, and I'm glad you've been asking questions along the way. That's often the easy way to handle it. But is there anything else about the program overall?
Yeah, I always have a million questions.
I'm
working with UOIT in the Faculty of Education, and this year some of the students are participating in our fourth term. It's a year-round program for us, so we do the 2 years in a year and a half. Some of the students are doing an action research project as well. So I guess this question is more for Lindsay, having participated in this. Obviously, the pre-service teachers would need to follow through. How intense would the follow-through be? They are, and just background, they're going to be in their classrooms at least once a week until practicum in November, and then they'll be in the classes for, I think it's 5 weeks. And then they graduate the end of December.
So are they going to be doing the science and the filmmaking with the students? Is that the plan?
I'm not sure yet, because I want to float this out to them.
Okay. What I would suggest, as long as they're host teachers or I'm not sure. I went to York, so I'm not sure what they call them. The host teachers on
Same
board.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, is that they would kind of be working with them and have the action project going, and then when they're on their block, I would suggest they do all the filming then and editing then, because then the student teacher will have more of a hands-on role in the actual project. Okay. Once a week's tight, I'm not going to lie, but if they're going to be in there intensively and the teacher's on board, they could probably do a lot of the filming and editing then, and then check in with the kids. We use Google. I don't think Durham uses Google Docs, or Google Apps for Education, but it's a great way to keep in contact with students when you're not there. So if the group you're working with, the kids have their own Google folder of all the work they're doing, then the student teacher can kind of monitor when they're not in the room. But it will be intensive. Like it's a lot of work for a student teacher.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, and UOIT is like heavy tech.
Right.
So they'll be really comfortable with that.
Okay.
So in all honesty, it sounds like your recommendation be like, hey, if you don't have a job yet, it'd be great to hang out with that class during, after you finish and help them.
If they're willing to do that. It's just right before the document, like I'd say the most intensive is the month before we hand them in, is because that's when I spend lots of conferencing time with the students to make sure the storytelling portion of the documentary is intact.
Okay.
So what happens a lot of the time is they gather their footage during the action project, and then they're missing footage. So then the kids have to go back and refilm, and sometimes it doesn't feel like a beginning, middle, and end, and they don't have any social media information, or they don't have the assembly they participated at, that kind of stuff. So they end up having to kind of patch stuff together.
Okay.
So it's time consuming. I spend hours with the kids doing that. So if you're not in the classroom, it's challenging.
Right. Thank you very much.
Okay, I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Nicole asked a good question in the group chat. She was asking, what are the most important filming requirements needed? So like iPads and tripods.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I would say that ideally you want to use an iPad, or my kids use their phones and their iPods as well, but it's the easiest to keep all the data together, and that way you have access to iMovie, which is like the most user-friendly editing software for the kids. And then definitely, if you can, through money, or if you have one already, is an exterior microphone. Tripods aren't mandatory, but having the kids rest the iPad on something steady, like we had a makeshift one with a piece of wood and some duct tape, and it worked out fine. We never actually bought a formal tripod, but just it helps with like the unsteadiness of the camera, so you don't kind of get that nauseous feeling while you're watching. Definitely eliminate background noise. That's huge. And then green screen, if you're using an iPad or a MacBook, then there's a green screen app for that. And then the kids, sometimes they'll surprise you. They come up with apps and software that I've never ever heard of, but they are totally efficient at. And as long as they can do it at school where I can supervise them, I'm totally fine with that too.
Yeah, a couple of your teams have done some fun things with the introductions and the endings and stuff like that using supplemental apps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my most recent group had quite a fancy beginning on an app I hadn't even heard of. So yeah.
Patrick asked a question. Are filmmaking kits something that we need to provide and put together?
To be honest, ours have always just been kind of a mishmash of the years of learning. Like we don't have a formal kit. I recently just moved schools, and so I'm kind of going to be starting from scratch myself. So it's going to be a little bit of a mishmash of a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And the kids get really creative too. Like
Oops. Everybody okay?
Everyone okay?
Yes, I just dropped stuff. Sorry.
Okay.
We use the cart you would have your projector on at school. We strapped the iPad to the cart so we could have it moving, like a moving tripod. So the kids get creative, and it's kind of fun for them to be creative. But if you have the money, by all means, like go out and buy as much stuff as you can. It's just we all know that there's not all kinds of money to be had all the time.
Oh yeah, we definitely won't have money. Lindsay, what would you say would be the proportion, and I obviously will get a chance to see this once we have the access to the resource. What would you say the proportion of the curriculum is divided? Like how much of it is sort of leans towards your language, how much of it leans towards your science, that kind of thing?
So it starts off pretty science heavy. So like a good portion of like the end of September and early October will be mostly like science related. And then I actually pair it with geography, because the sustainability expectation fits in really nicely with this project.
Yeah, absolutely. I've already looked at that a little.
Yeah, and if anyone wants my information, I can kind of show you stuff I did with my kids in other subject areas at another time if you want actual resources that I've used. But and then math is perfect for data management because they've got to collect data at the beginning and at the end of the project. That fits in nicely with data management. And then I did a lot of documentary film analysis with some media, and then in language. The beginning of the project requires like a little bit of nonfiction research because the kids have to have some data collected about whatever topics. If they're picking water bottle pollution, for example, I have them gather newspaper articles and recent forms of media on water bottle pollution, and then we do various nonfiction activities with that, so then like fits into your reading and your writing. And then they storyboard. So all the storyboarding fits right in with the language. So I'd say, I'm not giving you percentages, but there's enough.
No, that's fine. This was perfect. That's a good answer. That's
Does that help? Yeah. Okay.
So is the sort of general understanding, and I know Bob, you said that it's ours to do with what we shall, but is the idea that you would start your science unit with the water, like with the water unit in grade 8 science, and sort of
yeah, I think water systems and fluids together, you can pretty much cover both those expectations completely.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with water systems and like mesh fluids into it.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have had that question a number of times because some teachers were more accustomed to doing the water fluids unit later in the school year, et cetera. But unfortunately, because of the nature of the program, you kind of have to do the classroom work before you can effectively choose an action project and work on that. So it does drive it in that direction for sure.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback, Lindsay, with the fluids unit, have you had any kids actually developing any kind of low-tech work? Would they be using hydrology or something? Or sorry, hydrodynamics? Or
yeah, my teaching partner last year, they always make their own water filtration projects at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the science, like I guess springboard activity that they engage in. For the geography curriculum, I actually have my kids make various forms of appropriate technologies, which has fit really nicely. And so I've had kids make like water filter books with different types of materials. They've made paper that they could actually print on, and then also worked as a water filtration device. So there's a lot of like different things you can kind of do. It just kind of depends on your timing and your resources.
Okay, thank you.
I remember seeing a film a couple of years ago where the kids were measuring levels of acidity in the water, and so they kind of cobbled together their own resources. They bought the filters and whatever, but had accumulated beakers and
they borrowed those resources from the science room. But yes.
Okay. Little liberation happening.
We if anything's applicable to their project, we obviously give them access to those things out of the science lab.
Yeah, great. Okay. Any more questions? Well, thank you. There was all very good questions. We appreciate that. So whenever you're ready to register to take part in the program, if that's the decision you make, and we obviously hope it is, that, like I say, that link is active. And so is this link that you see now. We have scheduled 2 more webinars. We encourage you to talk it up with your colleagues, because oftentimes that can be a great way to provide, to get mutual support. Whether it's one person focusing on all the science work, et cetera, or whether it's simply, mutual support between teachers as you move throughout the year. And as people register, we'll be, as soon as we get our online distribution thing set up, which I think is not far away, we'll let you know, and you can go download those materials. All right. So that's it for today.
And I just left my email up there. If anyone has any like more specific logistics questions about how to make this work in your classrooms, me and my teaching partner have tried it 10 different ways. So feel free to email me or ask me any questions.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
And is there any way then, Bob, to confirm or deny whether I've already registered? Because I feel like I registered at the same time as I registered for the webinar. I registered for the program because I knew it sounded so amazing.
That's great. Joanne has direct access to those records, although I'm not sure if she's there at this moment.
I am here, and Patrick, you are registered for the program for this year.
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay.
And Nicole, let me check. Yeah, Nicole, you're also registered as well.
Excellent.
And yeah, in terms of your note about STAO, I believe we have to look into that to see if we're gonna go to STAO to share it.
Yeah, I found, I think I have a note from Mike about that. So I'll double check and confirm with you, Joanne.
Okay. I can also send you, you know, you get retired, you get really bored. The conference this year, they're adding new aspects to the conference. So like there was a kind of a playroom for science, and they're adding a sharing session this year.
Cool.
So it doesn't have to be a formalized presentation scheduled, but it can be promoted within the conference.
That's great.
I'll send you the contact information and you can decide.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right.
Very self-serving, so don't thank me too much.
Hey, it's still a good move.
Good point.
And it's still appreciated. So, okay. Well, thank you all. You have our contact information, and if further questions come up, don't hesitate to get back in touch. And we look forward to working with you throughout the year.
Great. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Lindsay,
Thank you. This was excellent.
Great. Thank
Great. Yay.
you. All right. Take care for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.